You know that feeling when you have like a career-defining presentation due in 48 hours?
Oh, absolutely.
The stakes literally could not be higher, but for some reason, right at that exact moment, completely reorganizing your digital desktop into color-coded folders feels like a life or death mission.
Right, yes, suddenly you're an archivist.
Exactly. You're meticulously sorting PDFs that you haven't even looked at since like 2023. And the wildest part is you are totally convinced you're being highly productive.
It is honestly the ultimate psychological trap. I
Yeah.
mean, we're not just running away from the heavy lifting,
Hmm.
we are actively congratulating ourselves while we do
I
it.
really do.
We build these elaborate internal monuments to our own distraction,
Yeah.
and then we just furnish them with all these highly logical sounding excuses.
Which is exactly what we're getting into today. Welcome to the deep dive. We have an incredible set of sources today that completely rethink this entire behavior.
Yeah, the material today is just fascinating.
We're looking at a really compelling essay titled The Price of Self-Flattery. Just Tell Me the Truth. And it actually comes with a companion piece of music, a song called Flattering Myself.
Right.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to unpack the real mechanics of how we justify our own procrastination. We want to tear down that monument to distraction and basically figure out how to stop being our own worst enablers.
And I think the best place to start is with that phrase itself, right? Self-flattery, because the essay redefines it entirely.
Yeah, it really flips it on its head,
Normally, we hear the term self-flattery and we immediately just think of pure vanity.
like someone gazing into a mirror.
Exactly. We picture someone admiring their outfit or maybe someone who constantly assumes they're the smartest person in every single room they walk into. But the source material just throws that definition out the window.
It really does. It presents self-flattery as something much darker and way more common.
Way more common. It's this internal deception. The essay frames it as this incredibly subtle process of telling ourselves what we wish to hear, specifically when we are avoiding what we actually should do.
So it's not about ego at all.
No, not at all. It's about taking cover.
Taking cover. I love that. And the mechanics of how this cover-up begins, it's just fascinating. The essay breaks down the anatomy of the deception.
And it starts with something so incredibly mundane. Just a simple, objectively poor choice.
Right.
You have that massive presentation looming, but instead of opening the slide deck, you decide, well, I really need to clean my keyboard right now.
Yeah, the sudden urge for a spotless workspace.
Right. But here's the thing. Pausing to clean your keyboard, that isn't self-flattery on its own.
It's not.
No, at that initial stage, it's really just a failure of willpower. I mean, you faced a hard thing and you chose an easier thing.
Ah, okay. So the transition from just a momentary lapse in discipline to active, dangerous self-flattery requires a secondary step.
Yeah.
Because the essay points out that a flatterer's fundamental job in the real world isn't necessarily to just lie outright. A skilled flatterer's job is to say whatever the target most wishes to hear.
Yes.
And in this internal dynamic, the target we are desperately trying to soothe is our own, what they call lower self.
That primal, comfort-seeking part of our brain that just wants to conserve energy and avoid stress.
Just lounging around.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
So once that poor choice is made, cleaning the keyboard instead of working, we have to protect that lower self from the guilt of the choice.
Because guilt feels bad.
Exactly. Guilt is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So we begin to justify it. We start feeding ourselves these little compliments that are completely disguised as airtight logic.
And the essay highlights some very specific everyday phrases that we all use as the vehicle for this self-flattery.
Oh, yeah. We all say them. We tell ourselves things like, well, now is not the right time to start the big project.
Yes, or I will begin a little later when I have more energy.
Right, right.
My personal favorite is, let me just finish this one small task first so I have a clear mind.
It sounds so incredibly responsible.
It does. And then, of course, the absolute classic 3.30 p.m. rationalization. I mean, I have already worked enough today.
And what makes those phrases so insidious is the grain of truth that's embedded in them.
The grain of truth.
Yeah, and the essay reveals a really sharp nuance here. None of those statements are inherently false.
Like, you actually might be tired.
Exactly. It genuinely might not be the optimal time to start writing. You probably have put in a lot of hours today. The toxicity doesn't come from the statement being a complete, utter fabrication.
Right.
The toxicity happens because these highly plausible statements are weaponized. They're used as a cover story for the continual, chronic postponement of your most necessary work.
Wow. So the grain of truth is really just the sugar that makes the poison go down.
That's a great way to put it.
You organize the color-coded folders, right?
Yeah.
And you get that quick, tiny dopamine hit of crossing something off a list.
Yep.
And you feel this completely false sense of momentum, like you are moving, so you assume you must be moving forward.
But you're not.
No, the anxiety about the presentation doesn't actually go away. It just sits there in the background while you alphabetize your downloads folder.
You're just mimicking the aesthetics of work without actually producing any real value.
Mimicking the aesthetics of work, that hits hard.
Yeah. And to understand why we fall for this over and over, the essay argues we have to look at the psychological transaction that's happening beneath the surface.
Right, the inner economy.
Exactly. The essay describes this exchange as giving oneself a bribe.
Now, when we think of a bribe, we usually picture slipping a $20 bill across a table to a bouncer, or maybe like some massive corporate payoff.
Sure.
But in this inner economy, the currency isn't cash.
No. The currency is temporary comfort. It's an effortless distraction. A pleasant way of burning the clock, or just the brief, intoxicating relief of escaping responsibility for just a few more minutes.
You are literally paying yourself off to look the other way.
You really are.
Yeah.
And I think the companion song, Flattering Myself, captures this transaction so vividly.
Oh, the lyrics are so good. There's that one part that goes, "The easy path tastes sweet to me. The harder one waits at my door. My lower self offers comfort freely. I am the taker and giver once more."
I am the taker and giver once more. I mean, that perfectly encapsulates the closed loop of this whole psychological transaction.
Right, because you're both parties.
Exactly. In your inner economy, the corrupt official who's offering the bribe and the compromised guard who's accepting it, they're the exact same entity.
Wow.
One part of your mind offers this ease, and the other part just eagerly pockets it. But the essay introduces a concept that makes this dynamic even more complex.
The double-layered bribe.
Yes, the double-layered bribe.
Okay, wait, let me make sure I'm tracking this. If the first layer of the bribe is taking the easy way out, like just accepting the distraction and the comfort, the second layer must be me convincing myself I'm an absolute genius for doing it.
You hit the nail on the head. That is the crucial second layer. First, you make the concession, you abandon the hard work.
Right.
But if you just stop there, you would just feel incredibly guilty. And guilt is psychologically uncomfortable.
Nobody likes feeling guilty.
No. So to neutralize that discomfort, your inner flatterer steps forward to explain how incredibly reasonable, even strategic, the entire exchange was.
Oh, man.
You don't just take the bribe. You openly praise the very concession you just made. You tell yourself, well, it was actually vital that I reorganize my digital folders because a cluttered digital space leads to a cluttered mind. I'm just setting myself up for success.
You completely decorate the poor choice. You
Yeah.
drape it in the language of productivity so you don't actually have to face the reality of your avoidance.
Exactly. You dress it up.
But hold on, though. I want to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Just thinking about the reality of a normal workday for, anyone listening. If I am 6 hours deep into a really brain-draining spreadsheet, like my eyes are crossing.
We've all been there.
Right. And I decide to step away to grab a coffee or just watch a 5-minute funny video, am I bribing myself? Like, are we arguing here that all distraction or doing any low-lift small task is inherently a bad thing?
That's a really great question.
Because if I don't take a break, my brain is just going to melt.
Right. And the essay actually anticipates that exact concern. It's a really vital distinction to make. The author explicitly states that unimportant tasks cannot be abandoned altogether.
Okay, phew.
Yeah, life is not just a relentless, unbroken series of monumental, earth-shattering achievements, It's a mixed ecosystem. We all have great duties and incredibly small duties, and they have to proceed side by side.
Okay, so getting a coffee, taking out the trash, or even mindlessly scrolling for 10 minutes isn't an act of self-flattery in and of itself.
Not at all. The source material is very clear on this boundary. Being occupied with something unimportant is not automatically a deception. I mean, you have to wash your dishes. You absolutely need mental breaks to avoid burnout.
Yeah.
The self-flattery only begins when that minor choice is, and this is how the essay puts it, decorated and presented as though it were the right one.
Decorated.
It begins when we praise the coffee break or the trash duty, turning it into this impenetrable shield against the main duty.
It's the weaponization of the small task.
Yes.
Weaponization.
It's the vast difference between saying to yourself, my brain is fried, I need a 10-minute walk to reset, versus saying, I simply cannot be expected to draft this proposal until my email inbox is at absolute zero. Therefore, clearing my spam folder is the absolute most critical thing I can do right now.
That is the exact line where rest turns into avoidance. And crossing that line repeatedly carries a really profound psychological cost.
It does.
The essay makes a striking observation here. It says that before a person ever successfully deceives anyone else in the outside world, they must first successfully soften the voice of their own conscience.
Softening the conscience.
Yeah.
Just think about how that works on a neurological level for a second.
It's scary, honestly. It's essentially neuroplasticity in action. Every single time you accept that double-layered bribe, every time you decorate a bad choice and tell yourself it was actually a great choice, you are paving a neural pathway.
You're building a habit.
Yeah, a habit of self-deception. You are making it marginally easier to lie to yourself tomorrow and then the day after that. You're slowly turning down the volume on your own internal alarm system.
You train yourself to be deaf to the truth. And the tragedy of this is that the conscience doesn't actually go away. It just gets buried under all the noise of your rationalizations.
Wow.
The song actually illustrates this internal conflict so brilliantly. There's a stanza that reads, "My tongue makes little duties great, while greater ones remain unseen. When all my excuses rise and applaud, conscience grows troubled but does not yield."
When all my excuses rise and applaud. That is such a haunting image.
Isn't it?
You have constructed this little internal auditorium inside your head. You filled it with a sycophantic audience of your own making, and they give you a standing ovation every single time you successfully run away from the hard work.
And while that audience is cheering, the conscience is just sitting in the back row, troubled. It does not yield.
It's still there.
It's still there. That means the underlying anxiety, that low-level hum of dread about the presentation you aren't doing, it never actually leaves you. It just gets drowned out by the applause of your own self-flattery.
So you're just left with a corrupted inner economy and a chronic sense of unease.
Exactly.
Which brings us to, I think, the most practical part of this deep dive. Once we realize we are running this corrupt system, right? Once we hear the applause and recognize it for what it actually is, how do we dismantle it?
That's the big question.
Because if the root of the problem is that we're being far too soft on ourselves, the logical kind of knee-jerk fix would seem to be the absolute opposite. Like, we assume we need to become internal drill sergeants.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to be ruthless, eliminate all comfort, and just scream at ourselves to work 18 hours a day.
And that is the pendulum swing that most people attempt when they try to cure their procrastination.
Yeah.
But it almost always fails.
It really does. It's exhausting.
The essay actually offers a very different, somewhat surprising remedy. The solution is not to become harsh with oneself.
Really?
Yeah, harshness usually just triggers a massive rebellion from that lower self we talked about earlier. It leads to burnout, which of course inevitably leads right back to avoidance.
Right. You're just back at square one.
Exactly. So instead, the author argues that the path forward is simply to be just and fair.
Just and fair. Internal justice. So more like a judge rather than a drill sergeant?
A perfect way to look at it. Because a drill sergeant uses fear, right? Adrenaline, sheer force. But a judge uses data, balance, and clear-eyed reality.
Okay, I see.
Internal justice means giving everything in your life its rightful due. You give rest its rightful due without guilt. You give work its rightful due without complaint. And you give important things their rightful priority.
I really want to explore how that actually functions in the moment, when you're sitting at the desk.
Okay, let's play it out.
Because a judge doesn't scream at you. A judge weighs the evidence impartially. So when you feel that intense urge to step away from the keyboard and, I don't know, go organize the pantry,
Right.
the drill sergeant would yell, "Sit down, you're lazy, keep working." But the impartial judge asks a diagnostic question. They say, is my brain actually fatigued right now? Or am I just bored? Is this rest going to be restorative? Or is it avoidant?
That is the perfect diagnostic tool. An impartial judge refuses to flatter you, but they also refuse to be needlessly cruel. They just look at the facts.
Right.
The essay actually outlines the ultimate goal of this internal justice. It says, it is the ability to carry out both our material and spiritual duties at the right time, with the right intention, in the right place, and in the proper manner.
It's just about complete alignment.
Exactly.
When you are resting, you are actually resting. You're on the couch enjoying the movie, not like vibrating with stress about the emails you were ignoring.
Yeah.
And when you're working, you are actually working. You aren't constantly scanning your periphery for some sweet, easy side path to escape down. You just pay the bills, wash the dishes, and write the presentation, placing each task in its proper hierarchy.
Which leads us right to the core thesis of the essay. This is the ultimate takeaway for anyone listening who really wants to break this cycle.
Let's hear it.
True freedom from self-flattery and true freedom from that troubled conscience we talked about, it only arrives when we can tell ourselves not what pleases us, but what is undeniably true about us.
Telling ourselves the unvarnished truth. It sounds incredibly simple, but as we've seen today, it requires dismantling an entire infrastructure of bribes, applause, and decorated choices.
It's hard work.
It is. The final chorus of the song distills this daily struggle into a single clarifying question. It asks, "Tell me, my heart, which one is right? What pleases me or what must be done?"
What pleases me or what must be done? We really have to answer that question every single day. And often hour by hour, honestly. Task by task.
So for you listening, here is the challenge. We want to move this out of the theoretical and into your actual afternoon.
Try it today.
Notice the very next time that smooth inner voice whispers, "Let me just finish this one small thing first."
Catch it in the act.
Yes. When you feel the sudden, overwhelming urge to color code those digital folders or completely wipe down your kitchen counters before starting a difficult email, just pause. Step into the role of the impartial judge.
Look at the evidence.
Ask yourself, are you genuinely organizing your time, or are the excuses starting to rise and applaud? Are you accepting a bribe?
Cultivating that pause is everything. Recognizing the flatterer's voice, catching it in the act of decorating a poor choice, that's the only way to begin silencing it.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I actually want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over on your own.
Oh, I like this.
We have spent this whole time analyzing how our internal flatterer is constantly trying to protect us from discomfort by offering these bribes of easy, trivial distraction.
Steering us away from the heavy lifting and toward the sweet, easy path.
Right. But what if we completely flip the script on how we view that friction? What happens if we start viewing that intense, almost painful urge to procrastinate not as a failure of character, but as a highly accurate compass?
Oh, wow. A compass.
Think about it. We rarely need to flatter ourselves to avoid things that don't matter. You don't build an elaborate psychological cover story to avoid watching television.
That's so true. The flatterer only shows up when the stakes are actually meaningful.
Exactly. So perhaps the very moment you feel the absolute strongest urge to flatter yourself, the moment you are most desperate to organize those trivial folders and just walk away,
Yeah.
that is the exact indicator pointing you toward your most meaningful, impactful, and necessary work. The resistance itself is the compass.
It's telling you exactly where you need to go.
It is. So the next time the excuses start clapping, don't take a bow. Turn around, face the hard work, and just tell yourself the truth.